What's up, y'all? LTJ Reads here, and this is Throwing Light. And if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. We are in our fourth episode of our summer school special, and for tonight, we have Guy Woods, the leather coach. So let's go ahead and get started. Guy, what's up?
I am so excited to be here. I have so many friends in the south of the US. I've never been to Louisiana. I didn't get a chance to properly have a conversation with you during IML, so I'm so glad we get to chat today. And I'm so flattered that you asked me to do this. It's such a cool honor. So many of my friends have done it, so it's kind of feels like a rite of passage to throw light with you. So I'm really excited to be here.
Wow, that is an amazing compliment. Thank you so
That's
much for
honest.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool. So yeah, yeah, I would love to have you come down here to the South. I'm in Austin, but I go to Louisiana, obviously a lot to do because I'm from there and I do community work and stuff like that. So that'd be cool to get you to come check some of that stuff out sometime. So,
I'd love
Guy,
to. Yeah.
why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the community?
Where do I begin? You know what? I'm going to begin with today.
Okay.
I did something really cool today, literally like an hour ago.
What'd you do?
Um, I remember a really long time ago that I was I was really into leather. This was a few years ago. And I really wanted to find myself in leather and I really wanted to join Bluff and I was super scared. And I didn't think I was good enough and I didn't know if I had the gear and all that stuff. And I finally joined Bluff, a while back. And today I shared a post with Bluff, kind of explaining what Bluff is for a lot of people who don't kind of know what Bluff is and enter. It was something that I wanted to do to kind of help demystify Bluff a little bit. And it kind of felt like a really cool little milestone because I used to be so terrified of joining it and being on it and being in gear. And today, it's just literally like an hour ago. And today, I wrote this little post and like I shared it with Bluff, and it just feels like a really nice kind of like step forward. So yeah, that happened today.
Can I
Me,
ask why you
yeah.
felt why you were terrified to be in leather? Like explain that a little bit more.
I think it's pretty much the common general fear of not being good enough. Will people like me? Will I look like a fool? I don't know what I'm doing. Is all the fears you could have in the world I had in my head. And I was so afraid for so long to connect with this part of myself. And something really cool happened when I reached my late 30s and early 40s. I just stopped caring. It was so cool. And I'd always gone to events. This is kind of the long way to answer your question. I had gone to events in my 20s when I moved to Ireland. And I did leather, but I was young and I really didn't know what I was doing. And there was a very toxic kind of atmosphere in Dublin back then. Luckily, that's changed. But I kind of retreated and kind of focused on schoolwork and work and met my husband, and it just wasn't a priority. And a few years ago, as cliche as it may sound, it wasn't because of COVID, but it started before COVID. And I just kind of had this series of milestones that happened that kind of unlocked little bits in me. I started working out. This sounds silly. I started working out. I got LASIK eye surgery. So I didn't have to wear glasses 24/7. And I suddenly felt like I could see a lot of things that I could see before. And I felt really free to kind of try different things with my look and how I dressed. I felt very contained. I got my autism diagnosis, which clarified so many things about me and my life. Family stuff, just a lot of alignment, and it just clicked. And all those fears that I had, I said, fuck it. And I joined. I made some of my best friends on Bluff, and then flipped my fitness Instagram to a kind of leather Instagram, and I've just been doing me. sense. It's a
So
long answer. Sorry.
no, that's a great answer. There are a couple of things. One, bluff. A few, people that are watching might not be privy to that. I am not a part of bluff. I'm not sure if that's going to be a part of my journey. But if you want to talk a little bit about what bluff is, that would be great.
Oh, sure. So the way I like to think of Bluff is it's kind of ground central, like ground zero or ground central for Leatherman online. It's like whether you're on Recon or Instagram or Grinder or Scruff or any other app, Bluff is like a very simple, no bells, no whistles online community message board. It looks better than the way I'm describing it, where basically Leathermen create a profile, they get a number, and they connect. It's not built like a cruising website or an app, so it's very difficult actually to kind of get instant gratification on Scruff because it's not built like an app. So what it is, it's like home base for you to set up a profile with a photo, a few photos, write what you're into. A lot of people on Bluff are not interested in anything sexual, which is one of the reasons I really appreciate it. It's just where Leathermen check each other out. If you're going to Argentina, you look at who the members are from Argentina. You might send a message. It's super social. Some people are interested in more sexual activities. Mostly it's for just kind of people to kind of connect. So there's less focus on body and age, and it's just where people are. And it's kind of a milestone when you're really into gear and uniform and leather. Getting that number is very big for some people. And having applied, it unlocked, it kind of released a lot of fear. What I will say is, and there's a lot of kind of like a lot of notions about it, people think it's really difficult to kind of be a member of Bluff because they say that the dress code is super, super strict. And it's not actually. It's just basic kind of like gear, like shirt, tie, I think waistcoat. They do have a few guidelines, but I have no problem getting into it and I didn't have like full gear. And I've met some of my best friends on Bluff way before Instagram, friends from around the world. It's great to give back, and they do a lot of service, and it's free and it's volunteer based. So I have a lot of respect for what they do.
That's awesome. I'm going to come back to something, but I want to stay on the leather topic. You are the leather coach. What does coaching leather, what does that mean to you?
I'm a coach by profession. So after kind of messing around with different kind of tech jobs in like Facebook and Google, I had a major nervous breakdown in what year was it? 2013, 2014. I was bullied quite significantly while I was working for Facebook. I've got no shame about it. And I quit my job in Facebook after 6 months because of the bullying, because it was too much. And it was such a toxic environment. And then I crashed. And for about, I think between a year and a half, I didn't actually do very much at all. I was kind of in the house. I just got married. I was constantly in and out of psychiatrists. I was clinically depressed. I was super burned out and I didn't do anything. And at some point, I remember my husband said to me, "You have to do something." And I was like, I can't do anything. And he said, "Well, you've always been interested in coaching. Why don't you take the course? Maybe it's something." So I took a coach training course that I was always been interested in. And it helped kind of pull me out of where I was. And so I took the course and I started learning techniques that really helped me in my depression. Also, not knowing I was autistic with my neurodivergent brain makes sense. And then I started coaching, and now I train for that school. That was, God, that's 10 plus years ago.
So
And
what's the
leather,
coaching? What do you coach, Guy?
I coach on everything. Coaching is really kind of multifaceted. It's structural, which means that I can coach someone on weight loss and I can coach a CEO on how to increase revenue. I can coach relationships. I can coach parents because people are generally the same and want similar things. And it's the structure of thinking and the structure of a strategic conversation that means that whatever your goal, and I have some mastery and some expertise in some areas, we can move towards resolution and progress, because ultimately, whether you want success in leather or you want success in your relationship, it's success. So it's about defining it. And then we can add elements of leather, which is its own ballgame. So I coach across the board. Leather wasn't supposed to be like a niche. And it's one of the cool things that happen in gear. I didn't think about it at all. And I think about everything. Like, I'm a super planner. And the freedom that I found in leather when I started to do my Instagram just naturally made me want to really be myself. And I started posting stuff that could seem basic and crazy and silly and coachy. And I enjoyed putting it out there, and people enjoyed it. So I started doing more of it. And people started asking me, about balance and alignment and finding their identity. And it just naturally became my most favorite type of coaching that I do, because it can be leather, it can be rubber, it could be pub, it could be anything. But I love coaching people when it comes to gear and kind of stepping into it and aligning areas of your life and confidence and balance. It's the most rewarding coaching I have ever done. I love it. I got a coaching session after this. I'm so excited. I get to meet the most amazing people, and it's me. It's me, it's Guy, it's leather, it's coach, it's me. It's all the parts of me coming
So
together.
you're essentially a mentor in the community, and as I was in the IML contest this year, you were there providing your comfort, your experience. You were very great at keeping everybody calm, being encouraging, trying to get people to focus on bringing themselves and being authentic. You were very, very great, and keeping a very for me,
Thanks.
someone that was contestant number one and just having an internal panic attack, it was nice to have that encouragement and to recenter and be in the present moment. And you really helped with that a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Listen, from one contestant number one to the next, because I was contestant number one in Dublin as well, and it completely messed with me.
yeah,
So I knew that the universe was saying, you want to do this? Let's throw a little curveball and a challenge and see how
yeah,
you adapt. Another learning
yeah.
moment, as if you needed it.
Right.
But you rose to it. You did great. I'm so glad I was able to help, man.
Of
That's so
course,
cool.
of course, it. I'm trying to figure out at what capacity I want to go to IML this next time to IML. Because I was inspired by what you and many others did in terms of being there for emotional support, physical support in terms of clothing and styling, anything. So it's got me wondering, how do I want to come back at the end of my IML year, and help the next, group come in. I know I'm going to go and be there for whoever is the next Mr. Austin Eagle. But I want to go back and rejoin my brothers, sisters. And for me, like, even though I'm stepping down for Mr. Austin Eagle in October, I'm still a part of IML class 46, and
Yeah.
we're still the present class. So I'm trying to take a lot of what I do and just keep me and my class, centered and milk what we have and what we got.
I love
As I've
hearing
talked
that.
to Yeah, as I've talked to other people, and I've even on the show about my experience with IML, I just did an IML special. We're going to start doing this regularly where I bring my IML class together and we have conversations. This is what it's about. And I want to spend more time. I know post IML is so busy, but we still have our chat and things going. I'm trying to maintain this relationship with these people that I went through this experience with. Because the one thing that they do tell you, you do get your number placements, but as soon as you leave IML, it's really about, like, are you the person that you represented? Or are you, were you just putting on a show? And for me, it's just been this since IML. It's just been opportunities have already started falling down. I didn't place where I wanted to. I didn't make top 20, but I had to start thinking about it. They were like, when I was contestant number one, use number one to your advantage. And I
Absolutely.
realized that didn't mean just at IML, it meant moving forward. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think I'm in the middle of a glow up, and I think IML only enhanced that. Because I can't tell you how many people came up and talked to me and like, oh, I thought you were going to win. You were my number one and all that type of stuff. It just felt really good that people were thinking about me. and calling me number one. So in some
Oh,
ways,
that's so,
regardless of how, and regardless of how I place, I did have a special, a little bit more of a special experience with IML because I was contestant number one, and so
yeah. It's a
it
very
you
unique
know
experience that you had
yeah,
being the
and you can only
first.
understand if you've been in that spot. I've been number one in a contest twice, and being number one, especially when you've never seen it before, it's a lot to try to, I knew
It
nothing
really
of
is.
what was going on. So
It sounds
now
like,
after going
sorry to
through it,
interrupt, it sounds like stepping into something that you had never done before, and you all did your own prep in your own way. And I know IML tried to help and tried to do a handbook. Nothing prepares you for an experience that you had never done. You can read the manual, you can look at photos, you can ask people, but stepping into it is a unique experience. And having gone through it for the first time myself, even though not as a contestant, it is what you make of it. Because you can go in with the drive to win, and that's all your experience is. And then you're crushed if you don't. And let's face it, most people don't. Only one person wins. And then this whole project that defined your existence for months beforehand, down to what events you go to and the projects, is gone. So what's left? It is what you make of it. It's an opportunity. And I got to experience it the same way as you. You meet so many incredible, inspiring people that you would never meet any other way. You get pushed, you get pulled, you get challenged. You do things that you never thought you were going to do. You do things when you're tired. You surprise yourself, and you are on this day by day journey of stretching. And you get to the finish line and you win because you did it. And what you're experiencing now, actually, a lot of guys who did IML are telling me there's this whole kind of era of kind of not reckoning, but people are like, now what? I spent the entire year gearing up for this competition. I don't really know who I am anymore. I don't know about my relationship. That's the way it's supposed to be. This is real life now. You can use the glow up of IML to create whatever you want and kind of feed on it. I love hearing that you're going through this kind of like renaissance of you after IML.
yeah, well, I just keep thinking of myself like it's like going on a reality show and not placing how you want it to the first time, but you get invited back to All Stars. You know what I'm saying? It feels like I'm an all-star now, and it
You
hasn't even
are.
been 2 months, but like
You really are.
I'm really going to maximize the potential of not just my title, but I need to believe in myself as much as the rest of all of y'all believe in me. I need to believe in myself as much because first like believing it was like, do I need to do this again? Like, did I make show myself? And like all of my mentors, even Jamal the winner, they're like, Lewis, you don't need a title. And so that's what I've been wrestling a little bit is like, is that the end of my title legacy? And I still have 3 months to my step down, but I'm in here for longevity and for placement and a spot in this community forever. So, I
And
see
that's
how
what you're
things are
doing
going.
now. You're
Yeah,
creating things, even these videos, this video, that's something real that lasts. That doesn't, you don't step down from this at the end of the
exactly.
year. You get to do this. I mean, you step down is a term from the title for the year, but you don't step down from being you. You can
Right.
keep doing everything you're doing. I was speaking to another one of your IML brothers just a few days ago, and I said, wouldn't it be such a shame if all those promises that people made during Chicago of all the things they wanted to do in the community faded away at the end of the year because they didn't place top 20 or because they didn't win? Because if you're authentic, and I know you are, and I know a lot of people in IML were, you do it anyway. I didn't win a title, and boy, did I want one. I freaking wanted one in January. I made no excuses about it. I went to Dublin and I was geared to win. And when I didn't win, I was like, huh, now that's interesting. I'm going to do everything I wanted to do anyway because
Yeah.
I don't want to ask for permission. I elicit advice, I connect with people, but I try to do something that is more global than a title. Maybe one day I'll run again, but you don't need a title. All these people that made great change, like Chuck Rinslow, who started IML, he didn't have a title. So what I would said to your IML brother is the same thing I would say to you. Just because the title year is over doesn't mean you can't continue to use it as a source of energy and inspiration, because your journey, you don't revert back to the way you were before IML. You now have that medal and that experience. So you can use that to be even more you. That medal, and I mentioned this to you all on the last day, that's power. And the reason why it's power is A, because it's quite a symbol in the community of someone who did something extraordinary. I remember looking at those medals and going, that person did something. They competed in IML. They've got the goods. They have something. I want to do that one day. Wherever you go, you have a really nice little bit of proof that proves that you're good enough. If that's what you're looking for, you are good enough because you did that and did it well. And you can use that as like power for the rest of your life. It's
Yeah,
so awesome that you have each other to do this
I
with.
told, like I said, and when we interviewed, when we did the IML class 46, the first interview, there'll be more coming with my class. We talked about that. We talked about IMLs being a contest of winners. You are a winner before
Yes.
you get there.
Yes.
And it's a snapshot of what you do and what you represent. It's not a commentary on your legacy in terms of what you're actually physically doing in the present. It's about, hey, it's being polished and being ready to take a leadership role. And we all go and we all want that title. But like again, I was able to transition away from the IML want the title, want to win, because I never went with the mentality that I needed to win the international Mr. Leather title. I went with the hopes that people would see me stand up for something, be myself, and be willing to work with me after IML. And that happened. I can't.
You hit the nail on the head there. The IML
I have a
experience,
win here. I am winning. And
that's
I this
literally it.
This is my
That's
idea,
literally
guy, and
it.
I'm going to tell you this. I would love to see our culture mainstreamed. I would love to see a reality TV version of our leather lives be brought into mainstream. And how cool would that be if we started having leather contests like RuPaul's Drag Race on television? You know what I'm saying? It started out like that. Think about that. Drag started out that small back in 2008 when RuPaul's Drag Race first hit. Now we're into 17 cities. All these go like imagine if we started somewhere. And it also makes people what I've learned and what I've been doing with my staff sister Mo. We've been doing what I call leather weather bar crawl. So we show up
Okay.
to places in our leather. This concept is to show up in straight places and create spaces for ourselves. Um,
Wow. That's gutsy and
that's what we're
bold and
doing here.
amazing.
She's so great because she helps me focus on my local things. Um, but like I'm playing a global game, rather if I have a local title or not. And I am an international Mr. Leather now because
Mhm.
I went to the International Mr. Leather contest. I have a medal. I am a leather man. I am one of the 2,000, people that have come through this, like out of
Yeah, you are.
out of a century of life. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like it's
I'll
it's a
take it
big deal.
further. I'll take it even further. It's not just you who stepped onto an international stage as international Mr. Leather, because everyone who competed for IML is an international Mr. Leather.
Yes.
All of us, I would argue, because we exist now online, we are international. Our communities are where we grow, where we get our power and our love and our support and our connection and our home, wherever you're based, whether it's in Austin or in Dublin. But because we exist online, we have reach and we have a voice that is bigger than just Dublin and just Austin. So we all, the moment we join an international platform and start making connections with people who are not the house next door, our voice becomes international. So I would argue that everyone who is active in international events or online has an element of being an international voice in leather, and we get to draw from our local experiences, whether they're Austin or Dublin, and bring them to the world and help shape the world and also be shaped by it. So I love this idea of this vision of like taking leather and putting it everywhere, because we all have a voice. I'm very, very passionate about it because One of the things that honestly pisses me off more than anything is privilege and people in queer spaces, people in the gay community, especially people in our community who don't demonstrate, they may have an appreciation, but don't demonstrate an appreciation for all the work that volunteers do, that organizers do, that events do to facilitate safe spaces and to opening up conversations. When I told my Instagram people that I was going to support IML, I got a few messages where people were like, why would you do that? Oh, I don't believe in competitions. I really don't see the point. You know, everything is politics, everything is biased, it's geared towards. I got everything. And what bothers me is that at least we're doing something. You
Yeah.
have a voice and you want to do something. And what feels right for you is to go and use your title that you got in your locality and bring it to an international stage through IML. My choice was to go to International Mr. Leather and use my coaching experience on that stage. We're all trying to do our little bit the best way we know how with what we got. What are these other people doing? Complaining? Complaining about prices, complaining about the price of gear. If you don't like something, change it. And if you can't change it, change your attitude.
Yeah.
Have some
There you go.
respect for the people who did something fucking crazy. Because what you did was insane and bold and brave. You did something outrageously powerful. You took everything that you learned about yourself and then you put yourself on a stage to be evaluated by a room full of people and judges and be seen by 58 other people for a week. And you left with your head held high, knowing who you are. That is not what people do. You really took yourself to the Olympics. And that's why this experience is amazing, because after you do this, you can do fucking anything. Anything.
I love it. Well, you just said if you can't change something, change your attitude.
Yeah,
Is that
I can't take credit. I can't take credit for that quote. It's from Maya Angelou, who I'm obsessed with. She would say, if you don't like something, change it. And if you can't change it, change your attitude. I think that should be like a tattoo here in the community because everybody is
yeah.
very privileged and
Come
everyone
on,
thinks
Maya
everything is very
Angelou.
instant.
That
I
is
love mine.
amazing. All right, so God, we're getting towards the interview. Normally, at this point of the interview, I would ask the guest, is there something that we have that that we haven't discussed about that needs more light shed on it? But I'm actually not going to give you that question because I know what I need you to talk about now. Autism.
Okay. Oh,
Explain
autism?
autism.
Okay.
Yeah, like how because you brought it up twice. I do have a leather brother that has autism. Can
Yeah,
we talk a little bit about how that plays into your leather life or your community work?
sure. I just thought I was weird, which I am. But um, I had struggled so much with depression and anxiety that at some point a friend was like, a friend who got tested for ADHD, they were like, you should probably get tested for ADHD. It's like, I don't have ADHD. Like, I know what ADHD is. I don't have it. And she was like, maybe it's autism. And I was like, no, I know what autism is. And what I thought autism was those like representations in the 80s and the 90s of autistic people wearing helmets and nonverbal. And I was like, that's not who I am. So there's no point. But planted a seed. So I did some research and I realized that autism was, well, it can be that, but it's not that. It's just a divergence in terms of how your, I like to call it my operating system, how my mental operating system processes the world. So it's got a little quirks and it's got a few kinks and it's really good at some things, so much better than other people who are not autistic. And it's really crappy in some things that other people who are not autistic are. It's different for everyone. And when I did the assessment, she said to me, honestly, you don't need to do the assessment because, I mean, you don't have to go through the process. You're so articulate that you've kind of coached yourself into kind of beyond autistic traits, but you have the characteristics of autism. And what I found was, once upon a time, I wouldn't even talk about it. I wouldn't talk about it. I didn't really want to kind of identify. I'm just me. But leather and the community have step by step over the last few years continuously made me feel like I'm okay. Like I did one of these calls, these kind of videos over a year ago, and I said I really don't want to talk about it because I didn't really know how to talk about it. People, it's me. My brain works in a slightly different way. What that means is, and I'll be honest, is that it's very noisy. It's very noisy in my head. I'm constantly thinking, I'm constantly strategizing. I have difficulty regulating between different states, hot and cold, awake and asleep, happy and sad, focused, unfocused. It's regulating from different states. So I'm a terrible sleeper and I get warm really quickly and I get cold really quickly. I can tell when someone's opened the door. I'm super sensitive to heat. When I get too happy or too sad, it's very quick. And through my own journey and coaching and just getting to know myself, I've learned how to build bridges. What leather does for me is just kind of, and this is my favorite way to talk about leather. Everything that I am stacks up really nicely in my gear. It's almost as if you've got this outline of a person and all the bits of guy that never really used to fit anywhere else. Autistic, coach, it aligns all the different parts of myself. And gearing up makes me feel authentic. It makes me inspired. It helps me think more creatively. It really motivates me. And it pushes me to constantly challenge myself and step out of my comfort zone, which is kind of the theme for today. And I've learned that so many of us have a neurodivergence. It's quite common in the kind of fetish kink circles. A lot of ADHD, a lot of autism, a lot of people who are on some kind of spectrum of diverging from normal, acceptable ways of being and different mental structures. I'm not the only person. And I think it just contributes to kind of how I see the world and how I kind of post and all the way I do things. It's just part of me as much as leather is. And I'd say it's part of your, did you say an IML brother of yours is autistic as well?
Yes.
Okay. Was it this year?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I mean,
That's
I
a
guess
goal.
I can say, I mean, it's Jack Egan.
Oh my
Jack
God.
Egan's
I love
autistic.
Jack.
Yeah, he's autistic.
I will say this though. When I did this is really, really interesting. So after I got my assessment, because it's not a diagnosis, because it's not a disease, it's just a way of being. A lot of coach friends of mine were like super supportive and like, I don't know why they need to be supportive. It's not like something's wrong with me. I'm exactly the same. It's just, oh, that's why I think this way. And they said, one of them said, well, you know, Guy, everybody's got something. And I was like, okay, that is a typical person's response to kind of autism or ADHD. However, this is what I like to tell people. Everybody's got their own quirks and ways of looking at the world. It's not about comparing. The thing about autism and ADHD is this. My quirks are medically classified as a type of divergence. So we can all be, we can all have an issue regulating, we can all have this and that. My bucket of cool ways of being has been analyzed and researched to the point that, this is autism. And I find it very liberating to know that there's actually nothing wrong with me. It's really
Of course,
very
there's
cool.
nothing. There's nothing wrong. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing to say.
Wouldn't you say that considering your journey, it's a very powerful and lovely thing to say, knowing that there's, despite everything that you've been through and the challenges, that there's nothing wrong with you. There's always ways to get better, but there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. A lot of people go through life thinking something's wrong with them. I've even thought something was wrong with me. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. All right,
You can always
Guy.
get better, but
It's
hey,
going to get better. All right, so we are at the end of this episode of Throwing Light. I do want to invite you to come back. Let's talk about
I
that.
want to.
I
It
would
was
love to
too
come.
quick.
I would love to have you back this year. So let's see what we can do for later on this year. Like I said, having you on here is a big deal for me. It's a big deal for the community. Yeah, I mean, like you're a shiny beacon. You are
Really?
what's the
I
word
don't
I'm
know how to
looking
take
for?
that. That's like
Necessity. They're necessary people. You're a necessary person. So that's great. That's amazing. So
I
I
will say
continue to
thank
hope to
you because
learn
I don't
from
know what to
you.
say with that. Sorry, what was that? I was just having a
I
moment
hope
when
to
you said that because
continue.
I don't know how to process that. That's just like so nice. And I'm just going to say
Yes.
thank you and just accept that. What were you saying? Sorry.
I continue to, learn from you and be inspired by your journey as just as much as you're inspired by mine. And I hope to see you soon.
You absolutely will. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. All right,
Thanks,
y'all.
man.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Throwing Light with Guy Woods, leather coach. And remember, y'all, before I end this, we have one more summer school special next Wednesday with Rugger Canis, and we are going for it. And we're talking about sex positivity. So be there and learn and be a better person from learning. With that coming to an end, goodbye, Guy. And if y'all aren't throwing light, you're not acting right. See y'all later.
Bye, everybody.
All right, let me stop this recording. There we go.